Hi there. Thank you so much for visiting my GoFundMe page. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ben Grauer. I'm originally from Des Moines, Iowa, now living in Iowa City, Iowa. As you can probably tell by now, this is a GoFundMe to raise money for a van purchase. A little bit about me and why I might need that van is because back in the summer of 2009, I dove into a farm pond around the Des Moines area and broke my neck. So that means that I'm essentially paralyzed from the chest down and have issues using my hands and my arms. But with your help, I'll be able to purchase a van and install some modifications that will make me be able to drive and fully be as independent as I can be. This video is going to be just about what I need, the process that I've been going through to kind of find out what it's like to drive, what I need to have to drive beyond just the physical van, why I need a van specifically, and then we'll just kind of go into how you can help, and hope you enjoy it. Please consider donating. Thank you. So getting to this point has kind of been an interesting process for sure. I've had to reach out to a couple of different agencies. What you'll be funding is essentially the car itself. Voc Rehab is a great kind of agency that works with people with disabilities across the state, and they kind of give them access to tools and other things they might need to return to work. One of those tools is of course going to be a car. And while they won't cover the cost of the car specifically, they will cover the cost of modifications to it. Things like, what I'll be needing is going to be a tri-pin, which is essentially a steering knob that I put in my hand into, and that allows me to kind of turn the wheel without having use of my hands. I also am going to need hand controls. That'll be on the left side of the wheel, and that will work the gas and the brake, and I control that all from my hands. And so that's kind of been an interesting thing to learn. The other big modification that we'll see, that I'll end up getting, is going to be the what's called a speedy lift, and that comes out of the back rear passenger seat area of the van and kind of comes out like an arm and grabs the chair and pulls that back into the van. Another big portion of that is going to be what is called a transfer seat, or an XL lift. And that lift will be something that will be positioned underneath the driver's side seat, and I'll transfer myself onto that. And then with a hand count control, I'll raise myself up to the level of the driver's seat and be able to transfer over. So with that, I'll be all in and ready to drive with really no requirement that I have one of the really expensive modified vans that you might see around that have the lowered floor and the ramp that comes out. I'll be able to keep the van pretty much stock and just kind of add things to it. And that'll be nice just because with those modifications, I'll be able to drive it and Danny will be able to drive it as well. So that'll be kind of a nice thing to have. So that's kind of what I've had recommended to me. I got that recommended actually to me by the people up in Cedar Rapids with the Mercy Adaptive Driving Program. And they were really good. And essentially after only 2 drives in their kind of practice car, the instructor, or occupational therapist in this instance, kind of let me know that she really wasn't teaching me a whole lot, and that it was time for me to get my own vehicle. And so I've been kind of narrowing it down, and there are a couple other cars you can have besides a van, and some that might work for me, but I think that at this point I'm definitely leaning toward what's going to be a Chrysler Pacifica. Pacifica is nice as opposed to like a truck or something that would be difficult for me to transfer up into on my own and into the passenger seat. I can kind of get up in there in the passenger seat so Danny can drive, and we can kind of switch off and really both use the vehicle when we need to. So that's great in the Pacifica. Also, something that is going to be really key for me, just kind of considering the amount of money that's going to be put into it in modifications and adaptations, it's important that we kind of have something that's going to be reliable, newer. Unfortunately, in this instance, if I were in a different situation, I would easily just kind of grab whatever junker car I needed to grab and kind of take care of business and really just drive whatever car I could. In my situation, I kind of require a different car and one that's going to be more expensive and newer, just because it offers things like safety features that are really going to be beneficial to me. So for instance, it's hard for me to turn and look over my shoulder and see what cars are coming behind me and be aware of all the things that are going on around me at any given time. With these newer vehicles, this one in particular, it has things like blind spot monitoring, crash avoidance features, and adaptive cruise control. And so with that in mind, I'll be able to kind of set the adaptive cruise control, and I'll be able to get a rest essentially when I'm on the interstate or something like that, and I won't have to be focused as much on using my hands to control the gas and the brake and things like that. It also offers things like parking sensors, which is going to be huge, just not being able to kind of look around. There are cameras too that are really interesting. This one I think has a 360-degree view of the car, so I'll just know what is around me at any given time, and I hopefully won't run into things. It also has parking assist, which is great. With that feature, I'll be able to pull up to a spot and the car will either parallel park itself or back in by itself, which I wasn't great at before, but this will definitely be a thing that will be helpful and make sure that I'll be good at going forward. So that's kind of what I need and what the process went through, or I've been going through. So essentially, I would need a car just like any of you do, for all the reasons that you do. And with me, it just so happens that mine's gonna need to be a little bit different. I know that before I got hurt, I definitely took driving for granted, but now just kind of knowing what I know, and as time has gone by, I'm realizing that even though driving was an option previously, I just never really pursued it for a couple different reasons, but mainly I just wasn't necessarily comfortable with it. Now as things have kind of progressed and things have changed, I'm definitely realizing that it's not really prudent to expect to live in a downtown built-up area all the time and have all the things that I need right at my fingertips. Both in Denver and in Des Moines and other places, I was really close to all those amenities and things like that, which was nice. And for things that I wasn't close to, I definitely had some really good friends and family members who were willing to sacrifice their time, energy, and vehicles to kind of get me around and make sure that I was getting everything I need. And especially with just the way that 2020 is going and COVID and things like that, as I was applying for jobs here in Iowa City, I was definitely really focusing on ones that were close to me, within a couple blocks, or accessible via the public transportation system and on buses. But obviously that is not going to be a thing that is super prudent now, and I'm not really sure for how long. So this is definitely a situation where if I need to get somewhere, I'm going to be relying on somebody else, and it's not a great feeling, but I now have the confidence to kind of know that I can drive myself. And so that level of independence is just absolutely going to open up so many doors. The first one, obviously, is just going to be able to kind of widen my net in my job search and really be out there looking at different things a bit further away than a couple blocks down the street. So that's going to be huge, just to be able to apply to different places, really see what's out there and see what excites me. Absolutely. And then it's just essentially living life as best I can, like being able to contribute to relationships, really make sure that I'm there for my friends, and not having to rely on them as much, and instead letting them rely on me a little bit. I think that would feel really, really good. Even the boring stuff I'm looking forward to. I mean, I haven't been able to run and get groceries or anything like that. I haven't been able to give myself to doctor's appointments or even take the dog to the vet. These are all going to be things that I'm going to be able to do when I can drive. And I think it's truly going to be so beneficial, and I can't wait to get going. So yeah, that's my story. Hopefully it resonated with you. I know that it's not always easy for me to kind of share things like that, but I just know that there's a lot of love out there and so many people are rooting for me. So if you can contribute or share this story and get it in front of as many people as possible, I would be eternally grateful. And yeah, when I'm back on the road, I'll be sure to come visit. Thank you so much.